3, 2, 1.
My name is Nick. I'm a full-time trader and entrepreneur. We put out tons of stuff for free for traders. These are real trades. This is real money. I'm putting my money on the line. This is going to be a live trading video here, locking in over $1,000 on this trade. Wow, I'd love to get in on this. Technical insights that really look good to me. There we go. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Hope you guys enjoy that intro as much as I do each morning. Kind of hypes me up for the show. So thanks for being here. Welcome back. If you're new, then welcome for the first time. But if you're an old person, if you've been here for a while, then what's up? Good to see you back. See a bunch of people already in the chat. It's always cool to jump in here, and then I see, the chat's already full of people with ideas and things to talk about. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you showing up early if you're making it right now. And if you're watching back later, if you're watching at, because these go up on YouTube later, if you want to rewatch them, if you're watching it back at a later time, you guys can always tune into the stream if you'd like, if you're able to, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay, so that is U.S. Eastern. 9 a.m. in the morning each time. So basically, if you're watching back at a later point, you'd like to tune in, that's the best way to catch me, is just head over to my channel at that time. And you should see me live unless I'm running late, which occasionally happens as well. But hello, everybody. What's up? Ibrahim is here. Abdul, Joseph, Hassan. Good to see everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So we got some stuff moving. So what I figured we would do is start where we usually do. We'll head over to the currency heat map and see if there's anything of interest coming on here today. From what I can tell, it seems like the New Zealand dollar is pretty strong today. We've got the Aussie looking interesting. We just had some news for the CAD, so we will be taking a look at some CAD pairs today for sure. We had CPI numbers come out this morning. They were better than expected, but for some reason, CAD is down right now across some of the other currencies. So we'll look at that. The pound is rebounding pretty nicely today. Swiss franc is selling off. The dollar is sort of negative. Euro is very negative today. And then the yen is kind of mixed. So good little overview there for you. So I like to come to the currency heat map each day. If you don't know where this is, you can find it on our website. It's at a1trading.com. You just head over to the currency heat map button right here, and you can tune in to this anytime you want, completely for free. So so what I wanted to point out is that for the most part, we had some news this morning. In fact, we'll pull that up just to see what happened with everything. We had CAD CPI numbers come out. And so this is where I wanted to talk about this. So kind of weird today because you had CPI numbers come out today as better than expected. So they forecasted 0.4% in terms of month over month CPI numbers, but then we actually got a better than expected or a higher than expected number. Now, you might think to yourself, well, Nick, why is higher inflation a good thing for a currency? Well, inflation itself is not good for a currency because inflation means that the value of that currency is going down, right? Because of money printing, because of, et cetera, right? Because of lots of spending, and the value of the dollar, or the in this case, the Canadian dollar is losing its strength. That is not a good thing for a currency, right? We want to buy things that are valuable, that are growing in value, but most currencies devalue over time. It's just the natural state of how central banks use a healthy level of inflation to keep an economy rolling. Well, CPI coming out as higher than expected means that there was a bit more inflation than they had even forecasted. Why is that considered bullish for a currency? Well, the idea is that if you have higher inflation numbers reported, what it usually means is that many central banks will use that as an indication to potentially raise rates. And raising rates or interest rates is a very bullish thing for a currency. So it's a little bit confusing, but the idea is that reporting of higher inflation on something is usually viewed as a trigger for central banks to say, hey, we probably need to raise some rates, and we'll talk about that going forward. So that being a higher number than expected today is interesting to me. And so we will take a look at some CAD pairs. In terms of news today, you guys, we also have the FOMC statements coming out today. And this is a big, big deal. So this is huge news today because let me tell you why. because the FOMC statement is basically where they talk about rates. They talk about interest rates. They talk about changing things or keeping things the same. And the reason that this has such big impact on things like the US dollar is because if they talk about or hint at any idea of tapering, of the idea of potentially even raising rates sooner than expected to combat inflation, that could be viewed as a very bullish thing for the dollar. But on the flip side, if the Fed comes out today, during the meeting they talk about, they talk about the current inflation situation, but then they basically say they shrug it off, that could be viewed as very bearish for the US dollar, because when you have high inflation yet not a push to raise rates anytime soon, that can be very bearish for a currency, which has been why I've been bearish on the US dollar for the most part. So right now, again, some good numbers out of Canada this morning. This news has already come out. This is not till 2 p.m., which is several hours from now, but this could be impactful to the US dollar. So definitely keep an eye on any USD pairs. If you don't like to trade during news, then there's your warning. It is coming at 2 p.m. US Eastern. We also have more news in the afternoon. So today is a news heavy day. And the reason I point that out is because if you're a day trader, if you're a swing trader, whatever you are doing in the markets, if you're short term at all, it's important to know big news events are coming so that you can maybe adjust. Maybe, if you like to trail stops, if you like to lock in profits, etc., you can make your decision depending on what your strategy is. In terms of outside of that, we do have this one. That's the biggest one for the day, I would say. But then you've also got the GDP out of New Zealand. You've got someone from the Bank of Canada speaking today, which also could be interesting. And then you've got AUD unemployment. So that is a big. So I would say that the big events today are going to be probably this. Obviously, CPI was already a big one. All the red folders, essentially, New Zealand GDP and Aussie unemployment. Big news releases today. So pay attention to that. If you're watching any of these currencies, the dollar, the CAD, the New Zealand, or the Aussie, if you have any positions on those, just pay attention to that. There may be some moves coming for those currency pairs. Okay, so let's go take a look at some of the stuff that happened today. What's the DXY doing today? So is the dollar staying where it is? Yep, it's pretty much just stayed flat. If you guys remember, I focused a lot yesterday on this candle. This red candle right here. We talked about the fact that, price started out really good in this candle and looked like it wanted to break through highs and keep going higher. But we sort of paused and then we really sold off into that. We saw the dollar get very weak up in this area. And the reason I point that out is because when you get a rejection candle like that, which is what I like to call it, you get a little bit of a rejection there, right? A long wick on the top. It has potential to show signs of weakness, especially when you're lining it up with a major level of resistance like we see on the 4-hour here on the DXY or the US dollar. So all the dollar currency pairs got a bit weaker, most likely, unless something drastic happened to their counterpart. But the idea there is rejection there, choppiness up here. The dollar definitely could go either way in this situation. We're just caught in a range right now. And if we drop it down to the lower time frames, this is going to be very interesting to watch going into that Fed meeting today, because you've got this range, right? You've got price essentially holding the top and bottom of this range pretty nicely. You've got, demand here. And like we said, sort of resistance up in this zone. So price is very stuck. We're very back and forth. But that Fed meeting today likely will have enough impact to potentially move price outside of this range, whether it be to the up or downside, I don't know. Let's say, again, the Fed says, hey, we don't see ourselves raising rates anytime soon. Although we have a bit of inflation, they've kind of been doing this. They've been sort of shrugging off that idea of inflation being a big negative bearish thing. So, watching out for something like that could be a great opportunity on the sell side should they come out with that narrative. And then on the flip side, if they talk about tapering, if they take into consideration everything with inflation, they respond more aggressively towards it, it could be very bullish for the dollar. So you have potential catalysts either ways. And if you're a day trader, there may be some great volatility throughout that. Likely what happens usually with Fed meetings is you get like these massive spikes back and forth. So please be careful as always if you're going to be trading these things. And yeah, that's something to watch out for on the DXY. Before I go further, you guys, I do want to give a big shout out to our sponsor on these streams. They help us keep the lights on. They support our team, which works very hard to put out this content for you guys. TradingView.com. You can see it at the top of the screen. We are proud to be sponsored by them. They help us, like I said, keep the lights on for these streams. We do these Monday through Friday, and we've got lots of different streams that we host. So we've got different guests that come on our secondary channel. You guys probably, if you've only seen my channel, then you know, obviously I live stream, but we also have live streams throughout the week that we feature guests, and we have, special people come on and do analysis for our community on A1 Trading's YouTube channel. So again, very, very big thank you to TradingView. If you guys don't already have a TradingView account, their platform is absolutely amazing. The charts that you see here, this is all TradingView, and they have like a million resources to try out for free. So if you don't already have a TradingView account, down below in the description, click that link, sign up for a TradingView account, try it out for free. And again, maybe you like it. Maybe you even go for the premium package. It's very, very nice as well. You get the replay function. You get all these amazing tools and features with TradingView. So with that said, back to the US dollar, again, stuck in a range, really probably just waiting for that Fed meeting to happen there at 2 p.m. US Eastern. What about the CAD today? Because the dollar versus the CAD, we had a little bit of a dip here. We saw an initial reaction to the news there, but it very quickly erased itself. So you could see 8:30 right around here, we saw the dollar spike up. But again, it was kind of an interesting one to me because we had good numbers for Canada, yet the dollar rallied against the Canadian dollar. What about the CAD Swiss? We'll take a look at this one. So CAD Swiss is sort of reacting interestingly to it. So we had on the 1 hour chart, you can see the candle right here. We did get a sell-off on the CAD, which I don't know, was a little bit interesting to me. The fact that you had the CAD come out with inflation numbers that looked like potentially, rate hike worthy or sort of, right? I didn't really see a big positive spike for the CAD. So just watching that to be to see if anything comes out of it. But again, not a ginormous spike or anything like that. Let's see, what else do we have? CAD yen, I do have a trade on this one right now. It's not going so hot, but with these live streams, I show you my trades, good and bad. So I took a trade somewhere in here in this candle, and then since then it has not gone so well. We'll see if it stops me out. If it does, no big deal, but I ended up buying the pullback here, trying to make the bet that, the low of the day was in. But so far, it's not going great. But again, we will see what happens there on CAD yen. What about Euro CAD? Euro CAD giving back a little bit here. If you're very bullish on the euro and maybe not so bullish on the CAD, this was already a really good setup. Just a beautiful little breakout and retest there. You can see this is my favorite sort of style of trading, is looking for something like this where you get a huge move to the upside, strong demand, and then looking for that weak retracement coming back and then looking to go long. So we'll see if that can hold there. But again, going to depend on the CAD today to see what's going on. So we got Euro CAD in the building here. So kind of an interesting one to watch for sure. But the main thing is watching that Canadian currency today to see how that plays out. After a lot of times what happens is we get a news spike, we get a big event that comes out into the markets, and then it spikes, but it sort of plays out for the rest of the day. For example, sometimes we'll get NFPs on a Friday, non-farm payroll, it's basically US unemployment, and those numbers, they'll come in the morning, usually 8:30 a.m. And then for the rest of the day, the markets are trying to value the dollar and trying to figure out, what's next for the US dollar based on those numbers. So a lot of times news can create volatility for the rest of the day. So always worth keeping an eye on that. So that's what we got for the Euro CAD. I figured what we would do today is because we have such big news for the US dollar, maybe we can go around the room and do a little bit of analysis against the dollar just to see everything. But again, with that CAD news, I just wanted to sort of react to it. So let's do some US dollar stuff. We'll take a look at dollar yen today, see if anything is of interest here. So so the yen kind of got strong recently. We've seen a little bit of a dip here on dollar yen as price pulls back. You can see we did put in these highs. We never made it quite up to that point. So you could argue we put in a lower high. So maybe due for a little bit more bearish pullbacks. Let's look at the daily chart and then we'll come back down for just a second. So here's the daily view of dollar yen. Let me extend that out just a bit. Okay, so the daily view of dollar yen is very bullish. If we apply these moving averages, you can see all three of them are lining up very nice. You've got the 200, the 100, and the 50. Those are the moving averages I like. There's nothing magical about them, but they are sort of just a tool that I use to gauge, trend direction and trend strength. So what we've got here is we've got, the moving averages lining up nicely. You've got an overall uptrend on the dollar yen, and it's one of those things. We're sort of battling this sort of wedge pattern. We've got this nice little, sellers coming in each time it rallies, but then on the downside, you've got this probably stronger and definitely worth mentioning uptrend here on dollar yen. So it kind of depends how you draw it. The thing about trend lines, they're a little bit subjective, right? Because trend lines can be drawn different ways. I've told the story in the past of way back in the day. I think I had like 300 followers on Instagram one time, and I posted a picture of a trade that I had talked about, and it was like a pretty clean trend line break. And I thought I had drawn it right, but this guy who had like a ton of followers, he sent me a message on Instagram. He was like, "Nick, you drew your trend lines all wrong. No wonder you suck and you don't have any followers." And I was just like, holy goodness, this guy came out of nowhere and messaged me, and he's like, you don't know what you're doing, all this and that. And I was like, literally, trend lines are pretty subjective. They can be drawn very different ways. And anybody who tells you they know the right way and that they're just like absolutely right all the time, usually they know nothing about trading, because trading is sort of lots of different paths to success. So anybody who thinks like, oh, they've got the only way to trade and make money is usually not so smart. So again, because you could draw a trend line like this using just the wicks. You could draw just along the bodies here, right? There are many different ways to draw trend lines, and it is definitely up for debate on which is the right way. So again, they're a bit subjective, but I like to draw them occasionally just to get an idea of what, maybe a major trend line would look like here. So you probably have a lot of people who drew it similar to this, right? Maybe not exact, but close enough. You've got these higher lows, and that's the main point of a trend line for me, is just to identify higher highs, higher lows, lower highs, things like that. So on dollar yen here on the daily chart, you've got this meetup point, and this is really going to be interesting to watch, especially with big news like today. Can the dollar break out of this little wedge here and make a directional, a decision here as to where it wants to go next? That's going to be the big thing. If you get something like this, that's very dollar positive, watch for the breakout. Maybe this trade setup occurs. I like that a lot. And in fact, let's bring it down a little bit lower time frame just to see what the 4-hour view looks like. Okay, so again, you've got the trend line here to the upside. You've got higher lows being formed in this market. Overall, I'd say this thing is in a strong uptrend and probably wants to push higher. So if it does get some positive news today, that could be a great catalyst to try and look for things like this. Look for continuations on the dollar yen. Now, please remember, this is not like financial advice. This is just me sharing my thoughts and opinions on markets. If I do take a trade, you guys will see it inside of the private Discord. If you are not already in the private Discord, there's a link down below in the description to join. And there's a promo code for you to get a cheaper price just for supporting the streams. But again, if I take a trade, I'll share it. Entry, stop loss, everything about the trade, the reasoning. I like to go full detail. I treat my the Discord where I share my trades. I pretty much use that as like a journal. So that's where I journal every trade that I take, put down reasoning and all of that. So again, watching dollar yen here to see if it does want to get positive, it wants to get strong here. Going to watch at 2 p.m. for that news to see if the dollar gets strong. If the dollar gets weak, there also may be opportunities to look for discounted buys there at the bottom of this range. If you are a believer in the dollar yen, if you think it has more upside, could be a nice little scenario to look for pullbacks. We're already kind of pulling back today, so I'm being a little bit hesitant to jump into anything right away. But again, on the 1-hour chart, going even a little bit lower time frame, you do have some interesting levels here. This level seeming to hold right there so far. If anybody knows their candlestick patterns, that kind of looks like a tweezer bottom, which is, it's kind of fun. But they come up with all these creative names for candlestick patterns. But if you go look up a tweezer bottom, that is a pretty good example of one so far. We'll see if that one can hold. But again, those wicks looking very nice there. Nice push down and then response from the dollar yen bulls. And so watching this level here, Again, this is the 1 hour view. So you've got some nice little setups here, probably on the fibs as well. Yeah, holding that 38.2 pretty nicely here today. So could rally right up into the news. That could be something to watch as well. But again, the big thing is going to be watching, what does the dollar news today bring? We have FOMC at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern. They'll be talking about interest rates, which has a high probability of moving the price for the US dollar across the board. So we'll move on from dollar yen, but definitely some interesting setups here for me to think about. And I will, of course, like I said, if I take a trade, I'll share that inside of the private Discord. So let's move on. We'll take a look at Euro USD here. So the euro dollar is selling off today. So the dollar is still looking strong right now. The euro has been getting pretty beat up recently. It's had a really tough week. You can see this counter trend coming in very nicely for euro bears. If we draw in this bottom of the channel there, you've got a pretty strong sell camp every time price tries to push up. So when I'm looking at this, I've talked about it a few times. I am interested in going long in the euro dollar, but I'd love to see a retracement to something like the 38.2, which actually brings us into a really good point about today's news. Today's news, if it's really dollar positive, could give us that discount. We could see prices do something like that, where they push lower on the 4 hour view here, and maybe even give me that setup that I've been looking for, which is, again, a retest of the support here at the 38.2. Lines up nicely with the bottom of that channel, which I view as a counter trend to the overall uptrend on the euro dollar. So if you look at this thing from a big perspective, it looks like a big impulsive move and then a corrective move. And the question is, I thought that this level would hold a little bit better. It did not. So if it does come down to 38.2, maybe the bulls will step up to the plate there. So I would probably be interested, like I said, in picking up some euro dollar should we see a steeper decline. And that very well could happen with the news today. So again, if the news comes out as very positive for the US dollar today, that could shoot the EU or the euro dollar to the downside and maybe pick up, I could see myself picking up some positions down below, at some point around 1.205. Really, another interesting level from there is, of course, that 1.2 level. It's a huge psychological level. If you guys have been watching the streams for a while, then you may have remembered when I pointed out, actually, I think I was very wrong about the euro dollar back at this point. Whoops. So I back here thought the euro dollar would just absolutely reject 1.2 really hard. So you can see, back here I was bearish on the euro, caught some good trades there. Did not hold on to this. This would have been a beautiful sell trade, but I did not catch that. So back here I was a bit more bearish on the euro dollar. And then what essentially happened here is that we saw the dollar start to get very, very weak. And since then, all the concerns about inflation have been a really good catalyst to push the euro dollar up. Okay, so euro dollar is something that until that inflation story is behind us, I'm pretty much bullish on the euro dollar because I'm fairly bearish on the US dollar itself. I'm looking for sell opportunities on the US dollar. So what that would mean on euro USD is I'm buying the euro, selling the US dollar. I have no trade open on this right now, but again, like I said, should things get stronger here to the downside, could see myself picking up some euro dollar off the bottom of this range. So definitely an interesting perspective there. But I mentioned that back in the day, I was bearish on the euro at 1.2, and then it totally broke through that level, and that is where I started getting bullish on the euro. So after we broke to the downside, or broke to the upside there, the downside was pretty much beat up from that point, and basically looked for long setups from there. So and I've traded the euro a good bit on things like the euro yen. I've been pretty active on. So I took a break-even trade on euro yen just the other day. For those of you who were with me yesterday, I talked about my euro yen trade. Let's see if we can pull that up just for a second. I typed that wrong. Euro yen. So euro yen, I got out of there. And thank goodness I did. Euro yen, I got out of there at break-even. So not a bad spot to be there. Took a slight profit on that thing, and glad I did, because you can see we put in that lower high and kept rolling over. So this is kind of a situation where I'm glad I had that stop loss on the trade. I don't know if any of you have ever been in that situation, but sometimes your stop loss gets hit and it rallies and you're like, that's really frustrating because I would have been up in profit. But then there are other times where you take a trade and then you get stopped out, and then you're thankful that you did because it kept going lower. That was this scenario for me with the euro yen. I bought the euro yen, I sold it, or I closed out of my position just before it continued to roll over pretty steep there. So euro yen given a bit more of a discount here, but again, we're kind of range bound right now. We're still seeing this thing go sideways. In fact, I should probably clean up my resistance points a little bit here. I'm going to move it right there. So we have fresh resistance there just from where price was not able to get through that point. We do have strong support down at the lows here. But again, pulling back, I would say that this area is not the most interesting place for a long position. Although I am bullish on this pair, like I said, I like the euro against the yen. So I'm pretty bullish across the board on this currency pair. This thing has been a monster to the upside. So yeah, I might be looking for opportunities, but I might be a little bit patient enough to try and see if I can get something back down here. So a little bit further downside on the euro could get me interested. Let's keep going with our dollar thesis though. Let's go take a look at the pound dollar here today. So the pound dollar trading up off of the lows there, put in a low there at 1.4033. Missed me by a little bit. I had an alert set down here at 1.4 to potentially go long on the pound dollar, but did not come into play. So I'm watching the pound dollar. Should things go lower, may see myself picking up some positions there on the pound against the US dollar. And again, still just chop city on this thing, just back and forth on the GBP USD, waiting for some sort of clear direction. Let's say that, for example, that we get with the FOMC news today. Let's say that we're looking at GBP USD. Let's say that the US dollar gets very weak today. That could be an interesting catalyst to sort of look for a breakout, look for a retest and continuation long on the pound dollar. But what if the inverse happens? What if we say that the US dollar gets really strong and the pound goes weak? For me, still interested in picking up pound longs, but I'd like to see a pullback to 1.4. So something like this, definitely more interesting to me. So this case I'm open to as well. If we get some short-term strength on the US dollar, maybe a little bit of positive sentiment from the Fed, could be an interesting scenario for me to see this thing coming lower, and then also pick up some potential long setups at 1.4. That's something that's been on my mind. Been looking for that setup for a minute there. So we will see if that can come into play. All right, it's time, you guys. XAU, USD, gold train in the chat. If you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure to give it a like down below. We've got another guest coming on today. His name is Austin Silver. You may have heard of him before. Him and I go back quite a while. We've both been content creators for a similar amount of time, but definitely stay tuned for the stream because he is going to be joining us on the other channel, A1 Trading. If you're not already following us on our secondary streams and channels or secondary channel where we do lots of more streams, definitely don't miss out today. Should be a great lesson from Austin. Again, coming on in just 30 minutes or so. We have our next show starting, and he's going to probably offer some really interesting insights into the market. Hello to everyone in the chat. I see Ivan is here. Good to see you, Ivan. Shavoy, good to see you. Amba, Joshi, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, says Sean from South Africa. Hey Nick, what is a good website for us to get fundamentals such as the news you're talking about? So we do a lot of reporting ourselves. So we have a team of people at A1 Trading, which is the company that I run. We have a team of researchers. We have Frank who does some stuff, Bart who does some stuff, and then we have a team that puts it out on our newsletter as well as on our website. So the best way for you to get fundamental updates, if you're looking for fundamental analysis outside of just my stream, the best way for you to do it is to subscribe to our newsletter, join our Telegram, etc. All of that is down below in the description, completely free. So check that out. Get on our newsletters, get on our Telegrams, because again, plenty of free value coming to you guys, and hopefully it helps. So looking at gold here, gold's looking bearish, you guys. Gold looks like it has more downside for the time being. Now, overall, I am bullish, but I think that we probably need to see that 38.2% retracement get hit before I really start getting interested in gold. Let's look at the daily for a second. You can see the daily gold has fallen out of favor for the bulls. You can see back here we had this trend line. Everything was getting bought. Every retracement was met with buy pressure. But now we're seeing a little bit of a pause on that. We've broken underneath. We put in a few lower highs, and structurally we don't look as good as we did before. Now, still, I'm in a bullish view of the gold, of gold versus the dollar, but I'm looking for a bit more of a retracement because, again, when you have this strong uptrend, eventually things cool off, and sometimes they take a little bit to cool off. So we could very naturally see a healthy retracement down to something like the 38.2 before gold gets bullish again. Now, if you're day trading gold, if you're looking at gold very short term, I put out a video just recently about trading this thing. Please be very careful if you are going to be trading it. The reason I say that is because gold is very high in volatility. It moves quite a few pips every single day compared to some of the other currency pairs that you may be trading. So if you're newer to trading, if you're newer to Forex specifically, please be very careful trading gold. And I would highly, highly recommend that you take more time on a demo account when trading gold, because everybody wants to jump into gold and start making some money. But I would bet very high. Well, we all know the facts, right? 95% of traders lose money. So if we know that they're losing money, most likely, take that with a grain of salt. Everybody wants to be in the 5%, but very few people want to do the work that actually is required to get there. And part of that is demo testing, back testing, forward testing, stress testing, all of the concepts that are boring for people to do. That's the stuff that made a huge difference in my trading. And for everyone else that I know who is very serious about that, they do the work. They put in the back testing hours and all that stuff. So if you're going to be trading gold, please be very careful. If you're just jumping into Forex and you're like, oh, I want to trade gold because I can make some money, I would very highly recommend that you do not put any more hard-earned money on the line, because you are most likely going to lose it trading gold. It is a very risky asset. Now, with that said, if you're more experienced, if you've been doing it for a while, gold can be an excellent place to make some great money, especially if you have a risk management plan, you have a trading strategy, all of that good stuff already defined. Gold can be an excellent place to catch some excellent moves. Again, if you were long in any of this, created some really great risk reward opportunities. I'll give you an example. Let's say you bought the pullback here and you put a stop loss on your trade and you said, okay, I'll just stop out should things break lower, and I'll put a target on my trade of like 5-1. That could have been an excellent, excellent move that you caught on the gold market. Now, obviously, I'm speaking in hindsight. I already know what happened, but I'm just giving you guys like a theoretical example, right? Even a 3-1, you could have caught some nice moves there on gold, just going with the trend, going with the momentum, and keeping things conservative. So as we look at gold, where's the next setup? Well, for me, I like 38.2. I like the retracement. Giving it a go there seems like a reasonable place for me. We could draw in some support as well, though it's not the cleanest support level ever. You do kind of have some support here at the 38.2, right around 1820, 1825, somewhere in there. Maybe a decent place to look. Now, even more so than the 38.2 though, is the 50% retracement. So let me extend these levels out just a second, just to make this a little bit cleaner for us. So with gold, I'm open to the idea of deeper retracements. Although I am bullish on gold, I like the idea of waiting for a deeper retracement, waiting for sellers to have a turn here before trying to go long again. So again, the bulls have had a really great run. I think it's time for a decent retracement before looking for continuations if they're going to happen. I think the cool thing about that is you get some great risk reward on gold should things come down to those levels. You're talking about things like this. You're talking about setups where, I could look at things like this. Really great risk reward. That's a 3.5 to 1. Now, those are big moves. Those are multi-week kind of moves, but you could even shrink it and play a little shorter term if you wanted to. I just think that if I'm going to be going long on gold, I'd like to see a little bit more of a discount, more of a pullback here before trying to jump in there. So that's what I'm looking at on XAU USD. Let's look at the 1 hour chart just to see what's going on today. So for our day traders out there on gold, things are a little bit boring here. We've got just price back and forth, not doing anything too interesting, sort of just caught in a wedge here. So again, one thing to watch out for gold with is that we do have the FOMC meeting today, which has impact enough to potentially move gold a lot. So again, just for the people who are tuning in now, we have FOMC economic projections, FOMC statement. They're going to be talking about rates and economic policy. And anytime you have that sort of thing from the Fed, the US dollar has a high chance of being moved or impacted by what they are saying. So you have to be careful when watching this. You have to be, just be aware, especially if you have US dollar trades open right now or you're trading gold. Anything that has the USD in it is subject to potentially move pretty strong due to that news. So keep an eye on that. It comes out at 2 p.m. US Eastern. All right, so 4-hour view, just last thing on gold. So when I'm looking at this, like I said, you can see it a little bit cleaner. I like this retracement to the 38.2. I like the gold move down to 1800. Both of those look like potential buy setups for me to reconsider should things get a bit more bearish on the gold market. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Hopefully it made sense. I did take a look at UJ. Guys like the video. Thank you, Anonymous. If you guys are enjoying, make sure to smash that like button down below. It's free to do, and it does really help the channel, so appreciate it quite a bit. Do you have an open trade on gold, Daz? No, I do not. Nick, if Aussie yen goes bearish, will CAD yen do the same in any way? Well, it depends on the yen, right? If the yen gets very strong, both of those could go negative. Let's go look at my position. Might be good, but it wasn't going so well earlier, so let's see what's going on here. So CAD yen. Look at that, holding the low for now. Let's see if this can work. So I am long. This is the only position I have right now on my main account. So yeah, just watching CAD yen. We did get CPI numbers that were positive, yet reaction was negative, which was kind of confusing. But sometimes you just get that weird volatility on a news release. So, watching to see if this level can hold. If it can hold, I'll continue to hold on to my long position, trail that stop, etc. If I take any trades, for those of you who are newer, if you don't already know about our community, we have a Discord community where there's chat rooms, live coaching webinars, everything, etc. is found down below in the description. I'll pull it up here. So this is the chat room. And then again, if I take any trades, here's the trade. So I don't just send out, I really, when I was a newer trader, the thing that really bothered me was when I would see people just sending out like, oh, I'm going long here with no explanation, no reasoning, no, because that doesn't really help you. As a trader, just copying other people is a really dangerous, place to hang out. It's usually better to understand what you're doing and why. So whenever I take a trade, I treat this just like my journal. I will essentially write down the technical and fundamental reasoning with a picture, with a full description as to every single trade I take. So I share this in Discord every day. I'm actively updating my positions. If I trail a stop, you guys will know about it here. If I take a position, you'll know it right here. And again, you can find this down below in the description. It is that first link in the description. Should you decide to join us, there is also a promo code there for you to get a cheaper price. It's $50 usually, but with the price, it is $45 a month. So, or you can purchase the big package, which is a one-time fee. So again, you have options there. So check it out down below in the description if you want to join us on Discord. Okay, so yeah, just watching to see if that one can hold. I've had some decent trades recently, so I'm not too worried if this one goes south. It is what it is, but I'd like to see this thing hold and not go much lower than that. Otherwise, I'll just stop out of the trade. So again, just watching that. What else do we have? So AUD USD was one I wanted to talk about. So the Aussie is still just doing its thing, going back and forth. We saw a lot of sell pressure here off of this resistance point. So saw a little bit of follow through even. The question is, are we headed back down to the lows, or are we going to hold where we're currently at, stuck in this range? So you can see a very ugly, choppy range here on the Aussie dollar. This is one that I was trading, but I sort of kicked myself for trading it because it's just been so choppy and just been so indecisive that I probably should have just stayed out of it. Took a loss here, a loss here, and a loss here. So 3 losses on this pair, which was probably one of my least well performing currency pairs. I don't know how to say that right. The ones that I did the least well with recently. So I'm waiting for this thing to really make up its mind, make up a decision. If it does hold the lows here, I'd like to be interested. I'd be interested in looking to go long on this thing. Should we start to see signs of strength, signs of positive movement on the AUD USD? So sort of still on the sidelines here until this range gets fixed. Because you can see, this thing is so ugly right now, just so much chop. And I usually like to avoid trading in the choppy ranges that occur sometimes in the markets. Some people like to trade them. There are ways to trade them profitably, but for me, I just like to avoid them and mostly trade with trends. So that's what we're looking at on the Aussie dollar. So if things do start to trend, I would love to be trading this thing, but for now, just sort of on pause. New Zealand dollar, while we're at it, looks very similar. However, it's a little bit less choppy, so I'm not too opposed. Check out this trade that I took. This was so sad. I took this trade and stopped out pretty quick just to see it run away from me. So that was no fun. But again, on these streams, I don't sugarcoat. I don't make it look better than it is. I show you what I'm really trading, how things are going. Overall, they've been doing great. We've had some fantastic trades. And although I take losses fairly frequently, my winning trades are usually much larger than my losses. So that's the name of the game. So I don't win. I probably win 50%, lose 50%. But the idea is that every once in a while, I'll catch a really big winner that makes up for all the losses and even makes profit. That's the whole idea behind my trading style and sort of philosophy, if you will, is let those big trends do their thing. So looking for opportunities like that on the New Zealand dollar. I would love to see this area get strong. If it does, I can see myself looking for opportunities to go long on this thing. You know, a break of this trend line to the upside could also be worth noting. And again, on the daily time frame, I'm still sort of hesitant to jump in, but the overall idea here is still bullish for the New Zealand dollar. You could draw this higher time frame trend line and see, you've got this level being tested once more. If it does respond positively, it has a lot of room to get back to that high at 0.75. So that's what I'm looking at for the New Zealand dollar. We'll see if there's anything that sets up there. Honestly, not the worst area to look for longs, in my opinion. There might be an opportunity to set up a long trade should things form. So I'll be looking at that closer this week. And as always, if I take a trade, you guys will know about it inside of the Discord. Shout out to our members there. Okay, USD Swiss. We did not take a look at this one. This one is such an interesting one right now because I took a lot of trades on this thing for a while. You can see I calmed down on trading it, but I was long biased all throughout this point. I took long trades here that went very well. Took a long trade here, closed out somewhere there. Took some trades here. This was break even, and so was this one. So, no losses, just a couple wins on this trade or on this pair. I even took one where I added and made profit on both trades. So that was awesome. So, overall, I've been paused on this pair. I'd like to see this thing. If the dollar does get strong, this would be one for me to look for long setups on. But I don't like to short this one because if you look at this from a swap perspective, so if you are newer to trading, if you've ever seen that little thing on your MetaTrader or whatever you trade on that says swap fees or swap payments, essentially because there are different interest rates associated with different central banks, different things cost or credit you based on the interest rates that are available. So what I mean by that is that if you are short on USD CHF, the Swiss franc is at a negative 0.75% interest rate. The reason that that's a big deal is that if you are buying this thing, you are essentially holding on to something that costs money to hold on to. So it's like a dividend. If you're familiar in stocks, it's like the inverse of a dividend. In fact, it's like shorting a stock that has a dividend where you might have to pay the dividend as a short seller, right? Well, the US dollar offers 0, or I think it's 0.25%, right? So 0.25%. So if you hold this long, it doesn't cost you too much in swaps. If you hold this thing short, it costs you quite a bit in swaps. So you're paying out of pocket every day that you hold this thing through the close. So that is the swap rate, right? It is a negative. It costs quite a bit to hold this thing short. So I don't like to short the dollar Swiss. If I'm going to be shorting something with the dollar in it, I'd like to short something like, I don't know, dollar CAD, something like looking to go long on things like euro dollar, pound dollar, etc. But that negative interest rate makes it quite unattractive to me to short this currency pair. So that's just my approach when it comes to the dollar Swiss franc. Real quick, you guys, if you are not already, subscribe to our secondary channel. There's a big stream coming up today. Should be very, very exciting to have our guest on today. His name is Austin Silver. You may have heard of him. He's got quite a bit of followers on Instagram, and him and I have been friends for a while. We started creating content right around the same time. So again, right there, I just shared it in the chat box. click that link, subscribe to our second channel because we've got another show starting in just a few minutes with a friend of mine. So I definitely encourage you to go say hello to him when he comes on. Should be coming on in just 15 minutes. So make sure to subscribe to the second channel if you haven't already. We crossed 4,000 subscribers. Guys, in May, we weren't even at 2,000. So we've been blowing up the second channel. We've been bringing in tons of special guests, traders to learn from. I'll be the first one to say there are more people out there to learn from in trading than just myself. So we want to bring you more traders. We want to introduce you to more special guests and people who have knowledge, maybe even more knowledge than me. So if you're looking to get more free knowledge, again, we don't sell courses. We don't, we do everything we can on YouTube for free. Obviously, we have sponsors and stuff that help us make that possible because we have a team of people who do stuff. But the biggest thing that you can do is if you support my channel, definitely subscribe to our company channel, A1 Trading, because we've got a lot of great free webinars, free content, special guests, educational content coming to the secondary channel. So don't miss it. Subscribe to A1 Trading on YouTube as well. Okay, so with that said, I'm probably going to wrap up. I do want to jump into a call with our special guest today before he gets on. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off here in just a minute, and then we will see you guys on the other stream once it gets started on the A1 Trading YouTube channel. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for being here. Hope you got value out of today's stream. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and like button, and we'll see you back in the next one. See you later.
I know you were expecting Nick, but my name's Julie and I do the real work around here. I wanted to take a second to thank you guys for watching the show and tell you more about some free content that we offer. One of the things that we offer is a free email newsletter. So if you click the link down below, you can sign up for free market analysis, trading tips, and exclusive offers. Every once in a while, someone here at A1 Trading takes a crazy trade and you'll be the first one to know about it. See you guys next time.